Okay, the big day has finally arrived. It's harvest day, and we're probably going to get started relatively early. I thought maybe a little narrative on my three colonies, I call them my three honey colonies, would help everybody kind of understand what's happening today. So the colony on the left came out of the winter time just booming. There was, I think I actually put a video on YouTube where it was in January and they were flying, and then a few weeks later how many bees were in the box. We made every attempt to try to get it to not swarm. It was producing queen cells like crazy. We did a bunch of splits, but to no avail. It swarmed. But since it came out of the winter booming, it pretty much made 2 boxes of honey before it swarmed, and basically it's been recovering ever since and really hasn't added anything to it. The colony's still a little bit small, so we're going to probably have to feed it to get it ready for winter. So I'm thinking on that left colony, we probably have 50 to 60 pounds of honey. One of the things that'll be interesting is last year we had a box and a half of honey, and so we took the frames, and one of the boxes we only used 9 frames in the box. And what that allows your bees to do, after your first year, after the bees build out the frames, you can space them out farther apart, and then the bees will build the honey out farther. You don't really lose anything in terms of production. But when you go to harvest and you go to cut off the cappings, it's just so much better because the wax is so much farther out, and you'll probably see that as we harvest. There won't be a lot of scraping on that one box in that colony. The middle colony also came out pretty strong out of the winter, not as strong. We didn't make a lot of attempts to try to save it since we had so little luck on the left colony. Anyway, and they came out, pretty strong in the spring. They made about a box and a half of honey, and then they swarmed multiple times. You can also see on it, I'll try to zoom in a little bit, but we have a kind of an upper entrance with a queen excluder. So there's a queen excluder combined with an upper entrance. The queen wandered up into the honey boxes and started laying, so we needed to keep her out. So we got her out and then put in the queen excluder, and then they backfilled it and cleaned it up and put honey back in it. But we have that upper entrance just hopefully to mitigate the damage that a queen excluder can do when the bees my bees just don't seem to like it. You put a queen excluder on and they literally stop producing honey in the honey boxes. It just really impacts their production. Anyway, so that middle colony made about a box and a half of honey, if I'm remembering right. It might be a little less than that. So I'm thinking we might have 35 to 45 pounds of honey in that middle box. The box on the right is probably the most interesting to me. Last summer we felt like the queen was failing, and so we replaced her, and the queen just didn't seem very strong in the fall. We came out in the beginning of the year, and the colony was small in the winter, didn't use hardly any of its stores, didn't use any of the sugar mush that we gave it. Came out in the spring, it was visually weaker than the other colonies by far. We were worried maybe that the queen was bad, and I guess procrastination and inertia, we didn't really do anything about it. And she just kept plugging along, and then all of a sudden, about 3 or 4 weeks into the honey flow, kaboom, all these bees. We put a honey box on, they filled it in about a week. And then we put another honey box on. They filled it partially, but I think the dearth kind of kicked in. That's how late the bees boomed. And we weren't inspecting every single week, and so we might have been able to get a little bit more honey, but the lower 2 brood chambers are just loaded with honey. So they used all their energy filling up those boxes. I'm thinking that queen we bought might be a little bit Carnolian, because it seems like she's a lot wiser with her egg laying, and maybe didn't start laying strongly until it was warmer and there was more honey. I don't know, and maybe in the summer she doesn't lay as much too because there's nothing to gather. So in that box, I'm guessing we have a similar to the middle one, 35, maybe 30 to 40 pounds of honey. So altogether, what is that? We're looking at, I'm guessing, 120 to 150 pounds of honey. So that's kind of where we're at. So we do not use the Honey B Gone stuff to get the bees out of the boxes. We haven't done it at our bees. We've seen it done where they use a leaf blower to blow all the bees out. We're not going to do that. We're just going to shake our bees off and then nudge and gently move off the last few bees off of the frames so that we can get all the bees off before we harvest it. You know, we have a total of about probably, I don't know, 50 frames of honey, so it'll take a little bit of time, but it's okay. So we won't make videos of everything, we'll try to keep it short, but I thought this narrative would help in terms of the general discussion of where we are with our bees for those that are interested in that kind of thing. Okay, we are currently going to shake some bees off some honey frames. Still getting yours here? The camera's going.
Oh.
Oh, you want another picture? Here. See how this one's going to right here? No, it's breaking. See that? Let's start with this piece right here. Let's try to pull them off. So that's what a fully capped frame of honey looks like. They put wax on the outside, and that's how you know that it's ripe. Okay, we're in the honey house, and we're addressing the comb. Basically, when the honeycomb's not thick enough, we have to come in and manually kind of open up the cells with a little fork. So that's what we're doing here. And we'll show you a couple of pictures of us cutting the wax with the hot knife when it is thick enough. When it is thick enough, it's very easy, which kind of way I talked about earlier, where we put 9 frames in some of the boxes to hoping that the bees would make it a little thicker. So that's what it looks like, and then we put it in the extractor. Alright, we're putting the frames here in the extractor. Top's on the outside because the honeycomb is built for gravity, and so you kind of use the centrifugal force to flip it to the outside. So it's just a matter of getting those frames in there aligned, and then we're ready to spin. Alright, go ahead. So when you turn it on slowly so that you make sure the extractor is balanced, kind of like a washing machine. Make sure it's not going to bounce all over the place. And then you spin it quickly, building up the speed a little bit, and the centrifugal force spins the honey out. Okay. Here's liquid gold coming out of the extractor. This is the exciting part. Okay, just wanted to see, we're having trouble with our hot knife, but wanted to show you what it looks like if we can get the hot knife working. it doesn't look like it's working, so it's kind of tearing this. Yeah, hit stop. I'm going to see if I can get... We can't get my friend's knife to work, so I just wanted to show everybody kind of what it looks like when you have to do it with these manual forks. You just basically have to go along and stab the honeycomb and pop them up. It doesn't take too long. I mean, the knife is a lot faster, but it's not the end of the world if you have to do it manually like this, and then this preserves the comb a little bit for next year. So just wanted to show you a quick clip of that. Okay, we just moved to bucket number 2, so I'm guessing it's somewhere around 50 pounds a bucket, so plugging along. Okay, the next step in the process after we empty the supers, last year we put them out for the bees to just clean them, but we thought since the bees probably need food and just to prevent some issues with potential robbing between the colonies, we just put the supers right back on top of the deep boxes. You can kind of see the outer cover separates the deeps from the supers. That's that kind of line you see in between. And we consolidated from the 5 supers we had because they weren't all full down to, sorry, the 6 down to 5. So that's the next step in the process. Okay, after you're all done taking off the wax, you're left with a lot of wax coatings. Here are our wax coatings, and they've drained overnight, so all the honey has kind of drained, and most of these have a tub underneath. You can see there's not a whole lot of honey left in the bottom. Last night, I'm guessing before we drained it, it was several inches, maybe a couple inches high, and then we just put our last bucket underneath of it, of course with a filter, so it filters out the bee parts. And you can kind of see there's a little air in the honey still. I wanted to record just so you can contrast for when we're done just how lumpy and sticky these wax coatings are. They're just coated with honey. They're just very sticky, and after the bees are done, they'll be flaky dry. So I just kind of wanted to give you a sense of what that looks like, the kind of the before and after. I'm going to put them on a couple cookie sheets and let the bees just clean it off and use the honey. Hopefully we won't incite robbing in our yard. We're going to take the chance on these.
All right, it is Tuesday after we've completed the honey harvest, and we have put out on the table the clippings from the wax. So this is the wax that we cut off that was capped on the frames, and it kind of had fallen through the, or fallen into the box that we cut the clippings into, and it is covered in honey. It is sticky as can be, and we're going to see about how long it takes for the bees to find it, and then watch the feeding frenzy that ensues. It is about 2 o'clock, so we're going to see how long it takes for the bees to find this. And just to give you a little perspective, hopefully I can do this somewhat stably, where our bees are in the bee yard from here. So our bees are about that far away. So we're hoping this isn't going to incite robbing in our bee yard, but we are going to let them clean out this wax. It is, as Troy showed you, extremely sticky, and by the time the bees are done with it, should be almost flaky. So I'll video a few times and we'll see how long it takes before they find it. All right, it is 2:04. It took exactly 4 minutes for them to find, for the first 2 bees to find it. I am going to zoom in a little bit. We'll let this one be our close-up one. I don't know if you can see from here. There's a bee on the left side, up towards like the left side of the screen. Oh, he just flew away. Or that's a new one that's coming. So took exactly 4 minutes for them to find it. So we'll see what happens in the next minutes and hours throughout the day.
It's been several hours and they are just not that interested. Last time, by this time, we had thousands of bees out here. Last time it was a little later in the year, and also I wonder if because the boxes, the hive boxes, have the supers on top for them to clean out the honey, if maybe they're not looking as hard because they're kind of busy with that. Very different reaction this year than last year. So this is probably 4 hours after we put them out, and they're just starting to accumulate now, and now it looks like it might rain, so not sure what that's going to do. Okay, it's about 6:45, and we are finally starting to get some volume on the bees. There's no way they're going to finish tonight, so this is going to carry on into tomorrow. I'm guessing it's going to be a little crazy out here tomorrow, but it started to rain a little bit, but that hasn't seemed to deter them at all. So they're cleaning up, getting their job done. Okay, first light about 30 minutes ago. There were, I don't know, 20 or 30 bees out here already looking for what remained from last night, and this is kind of what I expected yesterday, a little bit faster. So within a half an hour, you can see the bees are working. They've made quite a bit of progress. I'm guessing they probably have a couple hours left, but we're probably going to leave this out most of the day. So should be flaky by tonight. All right, here's the fun part. Filling up the bottles until you have to do 100 of them. That's a 2-pound bottle we have right there. Golden honey. Okay, the bottling is done. So if you wondered what 121 pounds of honey looks like, that's what you're staring at right now. We just use mason jars for our stuff on the left, and then the friends that we give away little samples to don't have labels on, but the ones based on the label law we have here in our state have to have a label on it, so all those have labels. So successful year, 3 colonies, 120 pounds, so 40 pounds each. Not superb, but decent. That's the end.